That's my concussion protocol.
There's no blood coming from your ears. Get back in there, kid.
Yep. I mean, he had like 7 concussions. Like, it's too much. So.
Yeah, we might have seen the last of him there.
Yep. All my Dynasty teams will suffer because I own him in literally every league. So.
We'll have to talk about one of my Dynasty leagues here. I'll bring up the roster. It's bad right now. It took like the.
So I'm just grabbing something.
That's right. I can edit most of this out anyway. when we go to the Podbean. Oh, I learned that episode there was Sal where I had to trim the YouTube video to make it fit.
There you
go. That was fantastic. Oh, yeah. Oh, see, you get Brandon Cooks in here. You get a little Saints action. A little bit of everything for everyone.
It is. Well, yeah, my love for the Saints came from fantasy football and the whole French culture in Louisiana and all that stuff too.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, I see every time right around the World Cup there, you become a huge France fan.
Yeah, my whole family's Lebanese, and I grew up speaking more French than English. And so I've always had a France thing. I studied abroad there and, treat it like home country type concept.
Yeah, my old man was born in France, actually.
Oh, cool. There you go. I almost wore my France World Cup shirt today, but I was like, I don't know. I'm going to save it. I don't want to use up any of that good luck for the next 3 years now.
No, you got to put that away and keep her nice and clean. Yeah, he was born in, I think it was called Metz, France, somewhere near, I think it's near Paris. I'm not too sure, but.
Yeah. Like METS?
METZ, I think it was.
TZ.
But I could be spelling it wrong, too.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
All right, here we go. Welcome to the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast. This is episode 10. I'm Dingus 4 with Calvin and Hobby here riding shotgun. And today we are bringing in a very special guest. He is from the blue Tar Heel state of North Carolina. He is the official SFB tanker. You may know him from SFB 8 as Dalvin Cook 101. You may know him from SFB 9 as Baker Mayfield 101. You may know him from such great hits as Brandon Cooks, please come back to me, baby. And we're obviously not going to see that, but we're happy to have our boy there, Hillel, join us tonight. Hillel, what do you got to say for us here?
Howdy. I'm very happy to be here. It's a bad week for Brandon Cooks truthers, but I'm here anyway, so I'll survive.
Well, we have to find a place to get all the Brandon Cooks truthers together in one area just for a little one-on-one, a little comfort session here. And,
I forget who else. There was one other guy recently who agreed with me that he was so underrated and always a perennial buy, and I can't remember who it was. So I'll find that one other guy and we'll have us all together in one place.
Well, and the thing with Brandon Cooks is you're always buying him low. He was always going to get you 1,000 yards receiving. He's always going to get you those 8 touchdowns a year. And he was not getting any of the credit that he was due. He was like the offensive version of Danielle Hunter there in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. He's quietly putting together probably the defensive player of the year type numbers, and no one's going to talk about him. That was like Brandon Cooks. Oh, was he really worth a first-round pick? Because he got traded like 3 times for 3 first-round picks to 3 different teams.
Yeah,
but he was giving you that value that no other first rounder was going to give you. So even when he had target share issues there in LA, you got Cooper Kupp, you had Robert Woods, he was still going to get you 1,000 yards receiving. So,
yep, he was trending that way, but offensive line would have helped. But yeah.
So one of the things we do here every week, and we'll probably talk a little Brandon Cooks here as we go through our box score scouting, is Calvin does a little bit of box score scouting, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we had might as well talk to the NFL trade deadline here that kind of came and went. It was very promising right off the get-go. It looked like we were going to see some big names getting moved out. We'd seen the little precursor there a week ahead of time with Sanu and Emanuel Sanders, Quandre Diggs there, Michael Bennett. We started seeing these names starting to get moved about a week out of the deadline. We're like, you know what? This could be an extremely active real trade deadline before we hit into our fantasy trade deadlines here. Unfortunately for all fans, we were kind of duped, and there was a lot of talk and much ado about nothing here. I think some of the names we were hearing kicked around, especially this morning, was Le'Veon Bell, Robbie Anderson, Trent Williams' name was back in there, which I know no one wants to talk offensive tackle trade talks, but if a team brings in a Trent Williams, that's going to have some big fantasy value for a running back, whatever team he goes to, even a quarterback, so to speak. So Kenyon Drake was the biggest name that kind of went between the last 2 days, and that's not really a whole lot to do about Kenyon Drake, but more so about the death of David Johnson, I think, this season.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell, that one kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it? I mean, they just signed him a few weeks ago, and that certainly seemed suspicious when it first came out. Robbie Anderson, there's a big part of me that roots for Robbie Anderson. I really like him, so I was kind of hoping maybe he could get out of there and get to a new team. But the good news is he's still in line for that really good part of the schedule that he's going to get the next 5 or 6 weeks. So here we go. It's time for those Jets to start showing up. I've been staying to buy him. Hopefully that can happen now. We'll see.
Well, what do you think that Jets locker room is like right now? It was bad to begin with Adam Gase in there is already like kerosene to whatever. And then you had their I'm going to butcher his name again, but Osmele or whatever. The guard there that came over from Oakland.
I can't pronounce it either.
Yeah. So we're not even going to bother. But
you just keep
that guy.
You keep trying.
That
Jamal
guy.
Adams tweeted too. Like I did not request a trade. Yep.
Yeah, there was talks about him going to Dallas was there, and I heard late that Baltimore made a run at him. And the Jets are dangling these players. And you know what? Let's be honest. Most teams are going to dangle whatever players they can. They got to find out what kind of value is there. But to put it out there in the media in today's day and age, like that cannot be a good locker room to go back to. And even though that strength of schedule looks not the strength of schedule, the schedule coming up looks fantastic for them from a fantasy point of view. Does that locker room's got to carry into that somehow? Now they're either going to play in spite of their coach or they're just going to quit altogether. I don't know which one it's going to be yet, but yeah, you heard about 4 different Jets getting traded today. None of them get traded, and now they all have to go back to work tomorrow.
How long do you think Adam Gase lasts at this point? Like he's done nothing in the NFL.
Well,
I don't understand how
he has two Miami games coming up, so he's probably just trying to beat Miami twice and then leave. So for all we know, he's planning on quitting after that second one.
Pulling a Nick Saban there and just kind of leaving before he gets started.
Yeah. I mean, it's his revenge game, so we'll see. Starting this week.
So if you're Miami, here's a question for you. So you're in full tank mode. Like you run a cover 0 on 3rd and 25 in a Monday Night Football game. You go full tank mode, but now you get a chance to go against Adam Gase, who the players in Miami we know don't like him either.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? I know the players are going to try and win because they're professionals and that's what they do. But do you have a little extra motivation against them? Like I know the management wants you to get that first overall pick. But there's got to be a little bit of something there to shove it right up Adam Gase's ass, too.
Yeah, I could see a Miami win against the Jets. I could see it happening. I could also see the opposite, though, like a total stomping of Miami because Gase is, doing his thing. But the locker room, like you said, is not exactly with Gase right now. So he can want and desire all he wants, but I don't know if the players are going to act on it.
No, I think it's going to be more playing out of spite of him than anything else there.
Yeah,
you got a lot of proud, good players there. Like Jamal Adams, he ain't going into no tank mode for nobody, right?
No, exactly. No. He's just going to do what he's got to do.
Well, I saw somebody on Twitter said front offices are the ones that tank. Players don't tank. And
right.
We saw it last night. Like they played hard. I mean, eventually Pittsburgh, they were too much for them, but they definitely played. And yeah, you're right. There could be a little bit extra motivation because it doesn't seem like anybody likes Adam Gase. Nobody.
Nope. I was shocked when the Jets even hired him. So
I'm not even sure Adam Gase likes Adam Gase, to be honest with you.
He just wakes up and then looks at himself again.
Like,
Damn it, I'm
I
still
bet
out of
you
Gase.
Leonard Williams is literally jumping for joy to walk across the hallway to the Giants locker room this week. Like, the Jets literally traded him. He's probably like, I'm out, peace. And he's still in the same building, but it's still.
Yeah, it's tough. My father-in-law is a Jets fan, so I think times are rough for him. But he's used to it.
We all go through them. I'm a Raiders fan. We've had some tough times over here too. So, speaking of the Bay Area, what do you make of the Emanuel Sanders trade? We got to see him a little bit in San Francisco here. We didn't see him get a whole lot of targets. I think he had 5 catches there, 5 targets on 4, something like that, with a touchdown, but it was in the red zone there from like the 2-yard line out. How do we feel about that fit, and what's that mean going forward for both Sanders and the 49ers?
I actually wish he had a slightly worse game because I would call him a buy low, but my buddy who's got him is not selling. I would love to have Kyle Shanahan's main receiver and let him do what he's got to do. Even now, their run game, they have no running backs alive. So we're going to have to see more Sanders.
Would you spend 2 second-round picks on him?
In Dynasty?
Yeah.
We're talking Dynasty? If I was really in a win now and really needed that wide receiver 3 or 4, I wouldn't call him a wide receiver 1 or 2. So that 2 seconds is a little rich. But I love collecting. So this is where I'm me in Dynasty, where as long as I'm getting a 3rd and a 4th back with Sanders, I would probably do that deal. I like to stack those late picks. So as many 3rds and as many 4ths as I can get every year, and then just take more darts.
Well, we definitely know you're not afraid of throwing that dart out there too, right?
Yep. The more the merrier.
Because I think I've kind of proclaimed you as the king of the hot take. You're usually ahead of everyone on someone. The love for someone, you've already got that embedded way before the season kind of starts.
Well, yeah, so it makes it irrelevant in redraft and pretty okay in Dynasty. But yeah, no, redraft is when I go Darrell Henderson way too early, people take a note for next year and tweet at me about it. Like, oh, well, Halal's high on him this year, so I'll just draft him next year. But I'm not worried about him this year. He's going to bust this year.
Like, how do you feel about that 2020 class coming in? Like, this is what we're talking about. Like, he just asked, would you trade 2 seconds for an Emanuel Sanders this year? And I'm looking at that 2020 class. I'm like, I want those 2nd-round picks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so one of my other things is I trade as many 1st and 2nds for as many 3rds and 4ths. So it's all about amassing the amount of picks, because there's always someone that I can get with a 3rd or 2 3rds that, in my opinion, could compete with that 1st or 2nd that I gave away to get those 2 3rds. And so it's just like, I need to see landing spots. It's really after the NFL draft that I go really hard into it and decide, is this actually a class worth all these 2020 firsts that everyone is treating as, fantasy gold? Or is it just the repetition of what we see every year, where every class is the best class, but then the next class is better? 2021 is actually going to be better. Like, just that constant push. And, the best time to sell a 1st is actually when you're on the clock. So I usually will hold on to them and then assess the situation and sell them right there at peak value when someone wants their guy, unless my guy happens to be there.
Mm-hmm. And what goes in the mind of, through the mind of Hillel for my guy? How do you determine who your guy is? Because your guy is usually different than everyone else's guy. You're usually pretty bold on these. Like Darrell Henderson, you proclaim Darrell Henderson as your guy way before anyone else. And even there's people that are like, well, Darrell Henderson, he's like RB 12 in this class, but you like stuck with him through the thick and thin.
Yeah, I'm still not dropping him or trading him, but in redraft or dynasty, and I'm still buying him when possible. But the problem with Darrell Henderson is they have the rank. What is their O-line? 31st right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not good.
Bottom 2. So that's like if we had a fully functional Rams team, I like Darrell Henderson, but every year, the variance is insane. And I'm okay with the variance. I'm okay with being wrong. But Darrell Henderson, whatever I liked about Darrell Henderson also attracted Sean McVay. Everything I liked about Jerick McKinnon attracted Kyle Shanahan. Even though we were both wrong, there must be something about the process that gets us to those guys that are my guy. And like even Philip Dorsett, I literally tweeted before the Patriots traded for him that it would be so cool if the Patriots traded for Dorsett, and then they did it. So there's something about what I do that's, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of a gut call sometimes. It's like feeling who's similar and kind of thing. But like the love for Cooks, Dorsett, there's like a list of my guys and a list of not my guys. Kerryon Johnson, never me. I was a no Kerryon Johnson guy. But that could be because I liked Amir Abdullah so much. I saw Kerryon as like the evil usurper, But I'm cool with Ty Johnson. He's cool, whatever, He's not my guy, but he's acceptable. But Kerryon was like I will never touch him in any draft ever. If I inherited a dynasty team with him, I sold him, as quickly as possible. That's like the opposite of my guy.
Yeah, I'm not I've never been too big on Kerryon Johnson either, and I was starting to eat a little bit of crow at the start of the season because he was performing well, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh.
I did the same thing. I was like, of course, he's going to have his running back one season right now.
Yeah. And I've got a few of those guys that I just will not touch. And one of them's kind of kicking me in the ass, but don't worry, the wheel will fall off on Leonard Fournette yet.
Fournette's going to get his too. It's fine.
He'll get his. The only thing keeping Leonard Fournette going right now is Gardner Minshew. That's all there is to it. That has got it. It's like he comes off to the sideline with like a bad knee or hip, and Gardner's like, I got you. And just kind of puts his hand on him. Oh, he's good to go again.
Gardner. I love it.
Gardner Minshew.
He's over there healing. Yeah.
But he's one. Sammy Watkins will always be on my never Sammy. That's kind of like my hashtag. I'll never have Sammy. I'll bash him no matter what, any chance I get. And 99% of the time, he proves me correct. So I like him. He makes me look like I'm smart. So that's a there.
You only suffer 1 week a year. Yep.
Yep.
Right.
You get a small 1 week sell window every year for Sammy Watkins. And there's going to be someone chasing points at some point. So.
And every year you always forget this was the year without Tyreek Hill that you could just keep Sammy Watkins, but we all should have known. Sell him week 1.
Yep. Get rid of him.
Take his one good week and sell him.
Yep.
And when you look at these things, like you do a lot of work there with Roto Underworld, right? So you guys got all kinds of tools that allow you to take a look a little more in depth and get some.
Yeah, the easiest thing you can do is just go to playerprofiler.com. It is the easiest way to do research. And it's great. Like there's so many things other than athleticism. It sort of took a knock. People thought, oh, he's just a good athlete. You're not actually looking at college dominator rating and, other things, efficiency metrics, but it's all there. I mean, if you want a snapshot of a player that you know nothing about, you just type it in and make a judgment. Trey Edmonds right now, look him up on Player Profiler, look at what the Steelers have to work with, but Jalen's healing now, so you can make snapshot judgments of is Trey Edmonds even worth the pickup right now?
Well, he's 6'1", he's 223. I'm looking it up now. Yeah, there you go. Workout metrics. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
I've seen that before.
Yeah, if you have no idea what you're doing, if you've never heard of a player, just type that name in and just look and then scroll down and you'll see even more metrics to look at. And you can even look at like cornerbacks and things like that too, like coverage and who they should be up against. And then there's usually videos or podcasts at the bottom, depending on how popular the player is. And then there's articles, like there's one about Bilos right now that was just put out. I would say his Twitter handle if I didn't butcher it, and I can't remember if it even is an appropriate word. I'll think on it. I'll look it up later.
We've only got 2 people watching, so you can pretty much say anything you want, to be honest with you.
It's JC something, like Jay Cocker or something. Could actually be his name, but I don't want to butcher it. And, so I was just going to look it up. I retweeted it already, so it's somewhere on there. But it has a lot of, it's nice when you have a thought process that gets you to the same conclusion as another person you've never spoken to. Mm-hmm. So I was helping a fantasy football king client over the phone, and I said, for his draft, Mark Andrews was the lowest I was willing to go at tight end and feel comfortable with tight end for that draft. And then I'm listening to Matt Kelly later on, and he literally said almost word for word the same thing. He and I had not spoken about Mark Andrews. There's nothing really on playerprofiler.com to make you think, okay, Mark Andrews. So whatever our process is got us to the same guy and is helping us and fantasy football king clients win their leagues, So it's just interesting.
That's cool.
It's always nice to have even else in the fantasy community just kind of back up what you're saying too, not only to prove yourself right, but to actually kind of confirm your thought process and how you get somewhere, right?
Yeah, you're like, see, I'm not crazy, not all the way crazy, or we're the same flavor of crazy, put it that way.
It takes all kinds of crazy to make the world go round, right? So,
And the one thing I love about fantasy is everyone has a take. I would get so bored, and I do get bored with people that have the same takes. So I like to find someone with a different take to challenge my takes. But it's more fun that everyone has a different opinion. So everyone can have a different team. If everyone liked the same players, ADP would all be auto draft. It's like,
well,
it's better the way it is.
I remember one of these takes being a little while ago there when zero running back was a thing. And all of a sudden, here comes Hillel with the zero wide receiver theory right back at everyone.
That was fun. I created a experimental redraft league called Battle Zero, and every year through the first 6 rounds, 6 or 7, if it's a 14-team league, teams cannot touch a wide receiver or running back based on if they're 0 wide receiver or 0 running back. So every year, what I have found is it's either a 0 running back year or a 0 wide receiver year. It's not actually 0 running backs always better, 0 wide receivers always better. It really depends on who got the most value where. Like, if you got Godwin in round 6, you're feeling pretty good right now. I drafted the very first, what was it, 20, whatever year Michael Thomas was a rookie. He was my late round wide receiver. And I got him in like round 9 in July, like before redraft season really took off, and he started to play better and he went up. So he won me the league. And then guys like James Conner, when Le'Veon Bell sat, won for the 0 running back team. So it's very cool to do that every year. And right now, I wish I had pulled up the numbers to show who's winning right now, 0 running back or 0 wide receiver, but we pull all the teams and see how many make the playoffs, who's the champion. And we have a couple different versions of it, a couple different leagues to compare to.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be kind of one of those interesting leagues to be a part of too, because I've always been old school. So I like my running backs. I like them off the get-go. I can't get on board with the 0 running back approach. I just can't do it. I always feel that there's more value in the wide receiver position later on in drafts. I think in general, that's how it works. You've got your top 8 kind of running backs in the league, and then you can get some good running backs in the 6th, 7th, 8th round. But I think that top end talent is early. And I think in the wide receiver position, generally speaking, you can get that value a little bit later on. So I know where I would be on this, but that doesn't mean I'm correct in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah. We do what we're comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah, like what you're saying though too, because you're right. Because some years it is a 0 RB year, some years it's a 0 wide receiver year, and it seems like it's been trading off the last few years. This year, I'm not sure what this year is yet. There was a lot of.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Right now,
it's a 0 everything year. Like I'm like, yeah.
Well, I think right now we could be seeing, I don't know if the stats will back it up, but I think this could be one of those 0 running back years because a lot of the top end running backs are getting banged up, getting injured. The James Connors, we're seeing him get hurt quite often. David Johnson is out. A lot of these guys you drafted early are out. Joe Mixon's been a dud. Let's call it the way it is.
Yep.
I took him in the second round of the SFB. So my first two picks were glorious, and David Johnson and Joe Mixon.
However, Devontae Adams, like, he could be the biggest bust of the draft this year. He's like last year's Le'Veon almost. He might bounce back, but we'll see. He hasn't returned much value yet.
Yeah, he's had one good game, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll have to look at his box scores to see how many. It might have just been one.
Yeah.
And you're looking on the flip
side. He might
side.
be back this week. Yeah.
Oh, I hope so, man. I need him. I got a stacked team right now that's doing absolute nothing in one league.
Yeah, I felt comfortable with a team that is now 1-7 who had OBJ, Adams. I even had Lamar on that team. Like, I don't understand how I'm losing. I'm like, no, this is a good team, guys. It's going to bounce back. Like, so bad.
Yeah, well, I even took that. Like, one of the guys that you talked about, the zero wide receiver, Terry McLaurin right now. If you draft, if you even had to draft him, you're getting some pretty good value out of him right now. Like, if you take his average fantasy points per game, I think he's.
I mean, if you looked at DJ Chark and Sutton, you would have two starting wide receivers. If you had just hit running back I guess if you hit the right running backs and then added Chark and Sutton, if you had like Dalvin Cook, plus, well, now Connor's out, but someone else that's been performing, McCaffrey or something. Even McCaffrey had a bad week. His one bad week was his worst week of his entire year. I was playing against him that week, so out of respect, he didn't do anything. So that's why.
Well, I got the ultimate screw job there last night. Monday Night Football. I have a comfortable lead, and it's in an IDP league. And I'm feeling pretty good about my lead. And then TJ Watt goes up, gets a sack, gets a forced fumble, recovers his own fumble, and now it's a tight game. Like, I'm like, oh, man, I just got to hold off. I got TJ Watt versus Preston Williams. I'm like, come on, Preston.
Ooh.
Just one more catch. Just one more catch. Just one more punt return, something. And I'm like, okay, last play of the game. I'm like, okay, I feel good about this. I'm in a good position. Another TJ Watt sack and another TJ Watt forced fumble at the end of the game. And I lose on the last play of Monday Night Football to an IDP. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh, man.
Like, anyone, this is why the NFL could put absolute garbage games on TV, and we will watch those games right till the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly right.
Yeah. That's what got me into football. I was such a jerk to my dad growing up. We lived in Charlotte, and I said no to every Panthers game. And then I got into fantasy football, and I'm like, man, I got to get some more of these games. Like, I've got like an itch for it now. I got to go watch games. Like, and now look at this. Like, this is insane. Like, growing up, I was like, no, professional sports is lame. Middle school age or whatever it was. I was rebellious. And now I'm just realizing I was a dick. That's all.
Yeah, I would feel like a little bit of a dick too, but all we had up here is the Canadian Football League where I'm from. So at least we can always claim our balls are a little bit bigger. So there's that and the bigger
There you
field.
go.
We got the Rouge. Yep. The Rouge.
Nice.
Calvin, you know what a Rouge is?
I have no idea. I don't know what you're talking about.
Basically, the Rouge, I'll sum it up. It's a loser point for missing a field goal. If you kick a field goal and it goes through the end zone and it cannot be returned, you get 1 point.
Huh.
So you can actually win a game on a missed field goal in the Canadian Football League.
Wow.
But
interesting. So does that change some strategy? I mean,
if it's a sure wait, you can't lose. You either get it or you don't, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, you still get a point.
But then on the flip side, if you're the team, if it doesn't go through the end zone, you got to remember the end zones are a lot wider and stuff, so there's a lot more room.
Right.
The goalposts are in the front of the end zone, so you got all the room in behind you. So you can, and then of course there's that old school rule: you can catch the ball, and if it's like no time left, just punt it right back out of your end zone. So there's some pretty crazy finishes you can see up here from time to time. So it's got its own little flavor.
Interesting.
It's how the XFL should actually run their league, to be honest with you.
That'd be fun.
Pretty crazy ideas I got up here. So,
well, if they just keep taking shots at Antonio Brown, they're probably going to do pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, they only got to make it really 2 weeks, and they've already beat them for the season. So,
right.
Yeah.
Do you think we could see Antonio Brown back now that the trade deadline's come and gone?
No. I would have picked him up by now if I thought so. I don't see it. I just don't. That man has deleted too many tweets right after tweeting them. I don't know what he's up to right now. I love him though. Like, I want him to be back, but I just don't see it yet.
Well, we talk about a little crazy. Like, it'll be okay to be a little crazy. He's kind of gone off the other end on this one. Like, I think I
was of the mind that it was all an act, and now I think I'm being proved wrong. So,
well, that's. Yeah. I think there was that one meme that was, this one. He tweeted out something, and it's like, "Yeah, the Raiders never had my back, and this and that." And someone like posted a video of him saying, "Hey, Gruden, thanks for always having my back through the feet thing and this." And like, dude, everyone's had your back at every turn right now.
I think as long as those lawsuits are going on, nobody will sign him.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, those are all just allegations. We don't know what those are right now, so we don't want to jump to conclusions here. But I'm sure any NFL teams do their homework on it.
I mean, the ones where he is suing the Raiders and the Patriots.
Oh, those ones. Yeah, I don't think those ones are going anywhere.
Yeah.
You can't sue your former employer and expect another employer to want you. Like, that's just, yeah.
Especially when one of those employers was the New England Patriots.
Yep. I don't know, man. He's a good advocate for mental health. That's all I can really think about that. As far as positives, we should look at this. We should study this, figure this out.
Yeah, that's true.
A good example for all that stuff.
Exactly. Like, let's talk. You can be the spokesperson for CTE for all we know. I don't know.
And I was huge on him. I was like, man, this Raiders team is going to be awesome with Antonio Brown.
Yep.
And I'm still thinking, like, their offense right now they're just missing an Antonio Brown right now. They could be absolutely deadly out there. Their defense is another story altogether, but if they had an Antonio Brown in their lineup right now.
Yeah, I mean, look at that shootout. I mean, shootout potential this week is even better. Antonio Brown, that'd be even better.
That's why I was really hoping that Robbie Anderson would get traded to the Raiders, because I think he could be at least part of that for that team.
I like Tyrell. I mean, he was cool.
I'm a big Tyrell fan. I liked him even, dare I say, when he was with LA and San Diego, however you want to divvy up his time there.
He was the guy paired with Michael Thomas in Battle Zero a long time ago. It wasn't a bad pickup at all. He did okay.
And now the whole Raiders team is basically a wide receiver zero there. Zay Jones, Hunter Renfrow, and then everyone's favorite preseason guy, Darren Waller. And
oh my God. Darren Waller is the biggest hit of all time. So happy for him. 2015 tweets all being retweeted. It's so amazing. He went from tight end to wide receiver to tight end to wide receiver to tight end. It was amazing.
And we still don't know what he is.
No, he's basically, I mean, he's a tight end. He should be a league-winning tight end. I mean, he kind of is. So,
especially where you
even last week. Yeah, even last week when it was a little disappointing, he still got 8 targets. I mean, he is.
It's kind of funny, like, that we're disappointed at his 8 targets for a tight end, in 1 week. Oh God, wish he had done more. That's like Ertz right now with all his targets, but not enough production. It's like everyone's taking Goddard, and Ertz is still out targeting him.
anytime you're getting any production out of the tight end position, you should be happy because that tight end position right now has just been an absolute wasteland. Like he's the only reason I think, honestly, my SFB team's doing anything. Because I took Austin Hooper was my tight end one at the beginning of the season. I'm sticking with it, and he's made me look pretty good. But I also got Darren Waller later on in that draft, like much later. And I was like, ooh, especially where you could start 5 tight ends.
Darren Waller cannot save a Baker Cam stack though, so he's doing all his Darren Waller things on my team too, but it's not enough.
He can only do so much there.
He's doing everything he can, man. Poor guy. He deserves a better team. I should release him and let him go to a better team. Go be glorious.
He deserves better. I like that.
Yeah. So, I feel bad for the guy.
This might be the 1 week I take a hit in SFB, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I saw you were tweeting something about it, I think.
Yeah, I took a step. Well, I put up 220-some points this last week, and I actually dropped a spot in the rankings. I went down from 87 to 88. I was like, holy crap. Like, how many people had 300-plus weeks here this week? So, and then I looked at my lineup this week. I'm like, oh, boy, this could be a rough one. It's not terrible. Well, like, there's a lot of people that would like to be in this position, but
I've noticed a trend this year. The NFL itself, I don't have data to back this up, feels like peaks and valleys, almost like the next, like this week's gonna be a bad week for everyone. Next week it's gonna be a good week for everyone. It's like keeps going like back and forth. Like I feel like the scoring goes up every other week or something. I have to look and see if anyone's actually charting this. It just feels that way. Like, I don't think it's going to be a 300-plus point week next week. Not a lot of dome games, not a lot of shootouts. Maybe. I don't know. I'll look.
Well, not with my lineup. There won't be no 300-plus week.
Yeah. I think our only dome game this coming week is Thursday Night Football. That's it. Everything else is outside. I'll have to look and see. Pretty sure it's what I was seeing.
Now we're getting to that time of the season. We're almost getting into Sony Michel type time of the year, aren't we?
Getting close.
Yes.
This is the weather. It's just about time for the Patriots to go, you know what? We're just going to run the ball now because we can run the ball and just give them his 40 touches a game or whatever crazy number they decide to do and let them go all Jonas Gray on us. And I thought I'd throw that name Jonas Gray out there because I've seen that being tweeted a lot today. Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh God, those tweets are actually really sad. I'm like, yeah, of course I remember. Like, I carved his name on my chest. Monte Ball. Yeah, I remember him. Thanks for bringing him up again. Yeah, I love that man, dude. His story is rough though. Like, he apparently was an alcoholic and couldn't stop getting drunk before games. Like, I was like, where was all this information when I was drafting you, buddy? Like, tell me this stuff beforehand. But he's better now. Just during his NFL career was not good, like health-wise. So just stuff we didn't know.
That's a lot. Like, all these guys came out before Twitter really even went off. We didn't know a whole lot of the guys' backstories. Like, now we know every little thing that every single player is doing. There is 19.
Hell, the players are telling us. Yeah, it's like you're getting tweets in real time.
You got Odell Beckham Jr. giving goat shoes to Tom Brady, and you got that was one of my other favorite little things we've seen this week. The face, Baker Mayfield's face, just a little bit like the whole.
Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful. Poor guy wants to go play with Brady and he can't.
You would have thought that an upgrade from Eli Manning / Daniel Jones was coming when we went over to Cleveland, but apparently it was kind of a downgrade.
Baker was obviously my biggest miss this year. I mean, he was my guy in SFB. I looked at the schedule. I looked at everything. The O-line didn't bother me that much. The OC, I mean, everything seemed perfect. And then you throw in an Odell Beckham with him and a Nick Chubb, and you've got Kareem Hunt coming now. And even their tight ends. I mean, Njoku's gone. It's like, ugh.
And you thought the
Rough,
chemistry,
man.
Jarvis Landry that he had last year. Plus
Landry, yeah, everything. There were so many like boxes that were checked. Like, all right, Baker season, y'all. It's time.
How much do you put on the offense?
What do you mean?
Well,
oh, you mean? Go ahead. You can elaborate, and I'll think on it. Yeah.
It just seemed plenty of people have noted it, but pushing the ball down the field more as opposed to kind of what he's used to, getting the ball, quick decisions. How much do you put a lot of it on that at this point, or does it just not even matter? I mean, he is where he is, and
I don't blame Baker himself. I want to know more about, like, if there was some, like, I want to know more about everything. Like, I can't explain how, Monken went from Fitzpatrick and Winston and a terrible O-line from what I remember, and airing it out and doing a great job with, the Bucks, and then go to the Browns and not be able to reproduce something with Odell, Landry, and Njoku. It's just, everything seemed like an upgrade for him. It made sense to me that it would just be seamless. And I don't really think it's Baker's fault, but I mean, it's got to be the whole organization. There's something's wrong. I can't say who to blame. I'm not going to throw Baker under the bus, but I think the entire thing doesn't make any sense. So there's something I'm missing.
And they're saying all the right things in the public too. Like they're saying, hey, you know what, we got to get things right here. It's not any Baker's going, it all starts with me. Like everything's being said politically correct.
Right?
So.
Yeah. Something's off. Something I don't know what it is. I wish I could tell you. Everything other than like the offensive line still is there. So I don't understand what's happening. They've got better games coming, but not the, weeks, not the points that I wanted to score with Baker in fantasy, It's not happening.
So let's talk about the Browns game here last week a little bit, Calvin. What do you got for us there with the Browns?
Let me grab it. Hang on.
So I keep them on. So I don't even know where the show is going half the time, so Calvin has no chance to really prepare for this.
Yeah, he's like, wait, the Browns folder. Okay, hold on.
Well, is it so Monken? That's the OC there, right?
Yes, Todd Monken.
Yeah. It seems like it's just a matter of time before he's gone.
Right, but he was never given play calling duties. So I'm like, is he being untapped, or is he? I don't know. I would be happy with Todd Monken on a new team if I knew he was my team's OC. I feel like it would be interesting. I expected fireworks.
Yeah. Not a ton. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but you need an offensive line to have a Todd Monken offense. So
yeah.
But that's not true with the Bucks last year. So I can't explain it. I don't know.
I found my Browns folder if you'd like me to jump over to that.
Whenever you say that, just reminds me of an old Seinfeld episode, the Penske File. The Penske File.
Penske File.
So obviously we hate the fumbles, but Nick Chubb proved that he was a stud this week. I mean, you mentioned Kareem Hunt coming back. Curious what the biggest takeaway is this week on Nick Chubb's big game, because like I said, you don't like the fumbles, but he clearly had a very good game. Broke through. Did he expose the Patriots a little bit this week? Did he show something that is going to allow us to have a little bit more faith in running backs that are facing the Patriots? Mark Ingram's facing them this week. Is he an automatic must sit? Do we have a little bit more faith in him? Or is this just Nick Chubb being Nick Chubb?
Okay, so let me start here on this one. This is the first time that I think the Patriots have actually faced an NFL offense this season.
True.
Like, everyone was counting them the champs, the 85 Bears. They're giving all these things. And yes, they have been a fabulous DST to own. I won't deny that in any way, shape, or form. but they finally faced a top-end running back. And outside of those fumbles, he gave you a good fantasy production. And we're talking about Baker Mayfield has struggled. It wasn't just against New England. He struggled all season. We knew he was going to struggle this week because there's no reason to believe that he was going to get right yet. But, yeah, I just think the only thing that the Browns showed us is if you have a good offense, you can actually put points on this New England defense. That's how I took it this week.
So it was a get right week, just given the scale that you're playing the Patriots defense. It was pretty good. Yeah.
Right. So given that, to be honest, you mentioned Kareem Hunt. How worried would you be about Kareem Hunt? Because for me, I feel like Kareem Hunt is going to potentially come in and take the role that Dontrell Hilliard has right now. I think it'll affect him. I'm not sure it eats into Nick Chubb very much at all.
If you want my opinion, Nick Chubb I had him as almost as good as Saquon Barkley. As a prospect, like I wanted whichever team he went to. If Saquon went to the wrong team, I would say that Chubb would outscore him in fantasy. And Kareem Hunt is, for me, one of the most overvalued players of all time. Like, I don't think Kareem Hunt is anything special. So I think it's going to prove quickly when they put Kareem Hunt in there as a change of pace back that he's not going to do much. But we'll see. Sometimes those guys, come out when the defense is tired and they look good until they're given the start. But I would not be threatened by Kareem Hunt if I was a Chubb owner.
So my stance has kind of changed now as the season's gone on based on the Browns' record. Kareem Hunt would be more worrisome for me as a Chubb owner if the Browns are doing really well and making a push for the playoffs. Like if they were in cruise control, sitting at what we expected them to be a 10-6, 11-5. Like, if they're cruising into the playoffs, and then we're going to see Chubb get throttled back and Kareem Hunt getting more and more carries to give him that break going into the playoffs. Now, where Cleveland's more than likely not making the playoffs, or they're going to need to get in the playoffs, I think this offense rolls with Chubb, and they're going to lean heavy on Chubb, and Kareem Hunt is going to have that Hilliard-type role going forward. So for me, it's changed. I really thought Hunt would have value late in the season, but now I've changed my stance on that considering the records.
That makes sense.
This Browns team, you mentioned it, you talked about the playoffs, and I just looked at their schedule. I was doing this earlier. How many of their remaining games do you think that they are going to be favored in? I think it could be a lot.
You think so?
So they got the Broncos this week with what's his name? I don't even remember the guy's name who's starting.
Allen. Yep.
They got the Bills in Cleveland, Steelers in Cleveland. Now that could be interesting. We'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, I always loved Browns Steelers games. So
yeah, they play the Dolphins. They got the Steelers again. Then they got the Bengals, the Cardinals, Ravens. That's a tough one. But then Bengals, they finish it out with them. This could legitimately be a 9-7 team when this thing is all said and done.
I think if you're looking at that record, and if I heard everything correctly, I think realistically 6-3 will be their record coming off the stretch there.
Could be.
So,
of those 6 teams. No, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Which that would put them at 8-8.
Yep.
I don't think that gets you in right now.
Maybe not.
The two wild card teams right now for me are the Houston Texans or the Colts, depending on who loses that division, and the Buffalo Bills.
That's interesting. The Buffalo Bills at 5-2. I mean, I don't know. They might be the team that gets exposed these next few weeks.
And you could be right; they very well could, but they also get to play the Dolphins and the Jets again. So
they do.
There's 7. They're up to 7 wins right there.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
Cowboys.
Sounds so sad about it. Yeah.
Like the Browns basically have to come pretty darn close to running the table. and they could easily go 6. I think 6-3 is probably the mark for them. 7-2 is not out is a possibility as well. You know, you beat the Steelers twice. I had them splitting with the Steelers there, so yeah, 6-3,
9-7.
9-7. You can make an argument for 9-7, but if you don't think that the Texans are going to win at least 4 more games down the stretch, or the Bills possibly winning 4 more games, like those are the teams that you have to jump. And the Raiders' schedule, they're 3-4, and they've got a pretty good schedule down the stretch too. So
they're sneaky too. So they've beaten some interesting teams.
Well, yeah, and as a Raiders fan, there's no way. If you would have told me we've been 3-4 after 7 weeks or 8 weeks now, I would have taken it. Realistically, I called beginning of the season, I said 8-8 would be a successful season for the Raiders.
Yep.
And that's a lot of their victories coming on the back stretch. That's not counting the beating the Colts, beating the Bears in London. I had that as a loss by when the season started. I think a lot of people like the Bears doing a lot better than they are. So they've been a pleasant surprise for me, and and
Carr is interesting. Like he's doing just fine. I don't think he's as bad as people thought. So
outside of Matty Stafford, is there a quarterback that's hated more by fantasy owners and NFL fans than Derek Carr? Because Matt Stafford, the credit that he's
Cam Newton.
That guy.
Yeah, that's right.
He's just hated by the media in general.
Yeah. You're right. It's true.
But like Matt Stafford, no one ever talks about Matt Stafford as a QB1 ever.
I will say at least they're hating on Cam with passion. Stafford, it's like they just forget he exists. Like they're like, wait, what? I had Stafford as a top 10 QB at one point. And someone was like offended by it. And I was like, well, name 12 better guys. Like, I don't understand. Like, Stafford's always good. Like, I don't, and, back then it was like, well, Calvin Johnson is why, and then he's proving them wrong now. It's like, so yeah, no, Stafford is very underrated and doesn't get enough love and not enough hate to counter the love. So it will not hate, but lack. It's like, the opposite of love is indifference. So a lot of people just forget he exists.
I'm just kind of I'm just looking at these numbers here. Let's see here. Just pulling it up. Just give me 2 seconds. Yeah, Matt Stafford's sitting at roughly QB8 right now this season. Give or take a couple spots.
And he's got another good matchup this week against your boys.
Yeah, that could be a real interesting game.
I want to start Carr in my leagues, and I don't know if I'll get him because he's on waivers in a couple like home leagues right now. I was looking at him earlier.
Yeah, he's been a mid-tier QB2 so far this season. Like I know this week I have to start Gardner Minshew. Like I wouldn't start him anyway, but it's a good.
Well, that's against the Texans. I mean, that's a good start. You should be starting him.
Well, the problem with Gardner is he can't hang on to the football. That's been the biggest thing so far. He's been fumbling it left, right, and center. It's not the picks. It's just he can't hold it.
No, he's a really good start this week. The Texans have been so bad in the secondary.
Well, let's talk a little bit. Like we're going into this. Let's try and tie the box score scouting here because the Raiders played the Texans last week, and we've seen a lot of things in that game. For me, the Raiders, they should have won that game. They had it from start to almost finish until Deshaun Watson spun out of a sack and had his eyeball ripped out and had a statue made.
That's such a Deshaun Watson thing, though. It's like he's a superhero randomly. Like it's pretty amazing.
Well, he is our QB1 right now as things stand in most leagues. So.
Yeah, there was some of the big things, and that is the disappointment that Kenny Stills was. I had a lot of high hopes for him going into that game, and
that just didn't add up to me. I
like
there.
I've liked Kenny Stills since he was here in New Orleans, but I thought this was a good matchup. Things were looking really good. The trends were going in the right direction, and then really struggled. But then we hear these reports about Kiki Cutie having troubles getting out of the doghouse with Bill O'Brien too, and it made me think maybe Duke Johnson might not be a bad guy to start thinking about these next. There's some pretty tough run matchups for the Texans coming up on their schedule. I don't think you can just run Carlos Hyde into the line against a lot of the teams that they have coming up. Duke Johnson got a decent amount of targets this past week. If there's not a good second option emerging out of Houston, he might become that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I told someone earlier today that if you could just get rid of Kiki and just have Duke get all those targets, you'd be really set. Yeah.
Yep. What do you think about that, Coach?
We've seen it. We've seen Cleveland use him too the same way. He's a better receiver than a running back, even though he's never been. It's hard to say because we've never seen Duke get that opportunity to run the ball, especially between tackles. And if we have, it's been short periods of time. But the thing he's always had success is as a slot receiver. He gets used in the slot more often than not. He's a mismatch. And if you want to run Carlos Hyde, because Carlos Hyde's already beat Duke Johnson out of one backfield, you might as well put Duke Johnson into the slot. And I think he's an upgrade on Kuti there. And again, I'll take an L on Kenny Stills this week. I know my Raiders secondary is not the greatest, and I thought this was a prime matchup for Kenny Stills just to exploit. And I recommended him to a lot of people, and I even started him in a couple leagues that I would not normally have him starting. So,
yeah, he got 5 targets this week. If he can get that up to in the 6, 7, 8 target range, he could be really good for us.
Yeah.
Oh, and while we're handing out L's right now, I'm going to take an L on Aaron Jones. I'm going to take an L on right now. I've always been Team Jamal. Not because
I didn't know that, honestly.
Not that I really believe in Jamal, but everyone got on Team Jones, and I just like to be different. And
I respect that.
I just try and find any way just to stir some shit up here every now and then. And
well, to be fair, Jamal Williams is not exactly bad. You know, it's like he's actually doing shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
He caught the Rodgers throwaway, you know, so it was amazing.
Well, you look at the numbers here. Aaron Jones had a phenomenal game here last week and roughly 30 fantasy points. But Jamal Williams also had 16 points himself. So
yeah. I think they just had really good everything. The offense is working. They have good matchups right now. So I don't know if it's going to sputter or not. I didn't look at the rest of Green Bay's schedule to see like how high I would be on them.
The guy that suffered is MVS, Valdez Scantling. His target share has just continued to drop. Even his big week last week was on 3 targets. So that was kind of cause for concern, and I mentioned it in the box score scouting last week, and then only 2 targets this week. So I don't know if he's gotten back in the doghouse with Aaron Rodgers, which happened last year, if you believe reports, or if really just he's getting more coverage because of Dante Adams being out. So maybe Adams being back in helps him.
I would worry about Aaron Jones' targets going down with Adams back. You know, you get your big guy back, and you don't have to worry about Aaron Jones getting all your targets, or the most important ones anyway.
Aaron Jones has about 4 of the next 5 weeks is very serviceable. He's got the Chargers, the Panthers run defense. Then they got the bye week before they get the 49ers. Then they get the Giants and Redskins. But here's the thing. When you really need Aaron Jones, week 15 and 16, you're looking at the Bears and the Vikings.
Well, I'm not scared. Without Akeem Hicks, they have not been very good against the run. And the good thing about Aaron Jones is a lot of what he's given you is not even between the tackles. So you can't even just look at the opposing team's run defense. A lot of it is he's doing it through the air, and he looks really good as a receiver. He
does.
It's been a surprise for me there, and he would have had more points probably too, but he stepped out of bounds on that sideline catch. So I hate to say it, but he's made me look bad so far. He's one of the few guys that have done that.
I'm taking an L on Aaron Jones now this year in Dynasty because I sold him thinking he had kind of already peaked, like value wise, and look at him now. So I have a shared L with you with that one.
Hey, Coach, let's go over to the Cincinnati and Rams game, if that's okay, because there's a couple interesting things.
I was going to say there's something to go over there.
Well, so earlier, Darrell Henderson was mentioned, and I wanted to talk about him, and I know he's loved here. He actually quietly had the highest snap count percentage of his year this year, and he even out-touched Todd Gurley 13-10 in this game, and really good doing it. So I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but he's kind of breaking out a little bit, and if you look at the trends, he's being trusted more and more on the field. That could be a guy down the stretch that could help us a lot in fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much do you think that changes when Malcolm Brown comes back, though? For this season, not Dynasty, but redraft.
It's hard because I think it was ESPN's own thing was like, there's no way he earned his role over Malcolm Brown, but in the meantime, you can maybe start him. But it was also a really plus matchup for him, and we kind of knew he should do well. So it was more confirmation, less happy surprise. But they need to Aaron Jones him, you know. They need to give him all those targets and then go from there. But I don't know.
Do we think the Rams throttled back Todd Gurley this game because they were playing the Bengals and they know he is a little dinged up? So we've got the W already kind of basically secured here. You know, we'll get you your touchdown, Todd Gurley, so you can feel like you played. Go relax on the sidelines. We're going to keep you out of harm's way. And I
feel like McVay was dying to play Henderson. And so he did it in the safest way possible, which was just like that. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if – who do they play? Well, they're on bye. I didn't look at who they play after their bye week. I only looked at this past week or like this coming week.
They got Pittsburgh.
Yeah. See, I don't know about that. Your favorite guy, TJ. Mm-hmm.
I don't like any of the Watts. They've got a tough stretch here. Like, they got the Steelers, and yeah, the Steelers teams have been able to run. They've been able to pass a little bit, but it's still the Steelers. It's in Pittsburgh. Then they got the Bears, the Ravens.
Ouch.
It's a tough little stretch here. So I think we could see a little more Todd Gurley here because those are going to be bigger games for them. But I can see them throttle Todd Gurley back because the schedule for LA does not get any easier. You get the Cardinals thrown in there, and then when you're pushing for your playoffs, you got the Seahawks, the Cowboys, and 49ers too. So
yeah, I'm not a fan. What week do they play the 49ers?
Championship week.
Oh yeah, good Lord. Yeah. I remember looking at Cooks' schedule and not being happy, so that was part of it too.
Well, see, you guys are seeing those matchups, and they look tough for you. For me, that looks tough for Todd Gurley, but for a guy that's utilized like Darrell Henderson, that may not be as bad. I mean, especially if the Rams find themselves in a place where they're chasing points, Darrell Henderson could see his usage upped in those games, not dropped.
Agreed.
The thing with Todd Gurley, if he's a healthy Todd Gurley, there's no tough matchups for him because they can use it.
But we know he's not that.
No, we know.
He hasn't been that this year at all.
Because last week he had 18 attempts, or 2 weeks ago against the Falcons he had 18 attempts. Last week he only had the 10, like you said. But they've been keeping him in that 15 to 18 range all season as far as rushing attempts. I think he's got 15 catches this season, which I think is a little bit down even for him. Last year he was all over the place there. He was making plays in the passing game and the running game, so he was kind of like their focal point. And then that kind of brings us back to, Cooper Kupp's been absolutely destroying the league right now.
God, Kupp. How did he do that? Like, I stayed away from him. That's another L. I stayed away because he was still recovering. I didn't think he'd be ready this year. Yeah.
You're right. I'll take the L on that too because I recommended people not to even I said, you're only going to get a half a season out of him. Week 8,
Yeah.
week 9, he's going to be good to go, but there's going to be a tough 8 weeks ahead. All he's done in that 8 weeks is put up week 1. I was like, all right, I look like a genius, He's very good week 1. And then all of a sudden he just went off until week 6. But
he might be a first round pick right now. If we were to redo everything, he might be a back end first round, first part of the second round type pick.
Yep.
I wouldn't fault you if you did that. And I wouldn't do it, but it's hard to argue. He's like the wide receiver 2 right now if the season were today. So
are you taking Devontae Adams over him?
Yeah, probably.
Are you?
Yeah. If we're talking next year, like if we're talking 2020,
OBJ.
OBJ. Baker's kind of killed my buzz a little bit on OBJ.
Yep.
Well, let's not. I'm still probably taking Keenan Allen over him. I'm probably taking Mike Evans still over him. Michael Thomas, I'm still probably taking over. Cannot.
Michael Thomas, probably. That's funny.
You're not going to convince me to take Chris Godwin. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was not on the hype before the season. Obviously, I probably should have because he's still one of the top receivers in the game right now. DJ
I was right there with you.
I'm not taking DJ Chark over Cooper Kupp.
No,
definitely not taking Chark over Devontae Adams. Maybe that's just me being foolish, but I'm probably taking
Corey Davis. Yeah.
No, I'll definitely take Kupp over.
I'm messing.
But I'm looking at the guys behind Cooper Kupp right now. Are you seriously going to tell me you're going to take Kupp over Edelman or Cooper?
Cooper's interesting. Maybe Cooper. But I think he's in that top 5 conversation right now.
I think the way I draft, he's probably 3rd round for me. In a
he'd be your wide receiver 1 after 2 running backs.
Probably something like that, yeah. Because I know in a lot of leagues this year, I was getting Keenan Allen in the 3rd. I was getting Amari Cooper in the 3rd. So I'm probably not going Cooper Kupp before the 3rd round. 3rd round, I think, is probably the sweet spot for him. But we haven't seen Brandon Cooks. We'll see what the Brandon Cooks injury does going forward. But
I was trying not to think about my boy.
But we're forgetting about another receiver who is just as good. Another very underrated receiver, that Robert Woods. His numbers are down because he's not getting those touchdowns right now that Kupp is getting. Robert Woods is just as good as Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
And he's the guy you're getting in like the 8th round of most redrafts.
We're really, undervaluing Gerald Everett right now. He's been finally breaking out, but it's like too little too late. Like I was already off of him after being so hard on him and now off. And now he's, blowing it up for someone else's team.
Robert Woods right now, if I'm just kind of grabbing any old rankings here, he's wide receiver 27 overall. How many touchdowns does he have?
0?
I don't think he has any. Yeah.
He does not have any. All his numbers are coming directly off of his catches. His 38 catches, 471 yards. That's all Robert Woods has got. He's the wide receiver 27. So he's a low end or high end wide receiver 3 right now.
I love Robert Woods. Robert Woods was my guy all off season. I own him everywhere. And he actually, I don't know if he's still on pace now, but for a while he was still on pace to out snap and out target every Rams receiver. He did last year. And he very well, I haven't checked this week, but as of just last week or a couple weeks ago, he was as well. I love Robert Woods is very consistent. I don't think he has this type of game in him that Cooper Kupp just had, but he's a really good wide receiver.
Yeah, and I don't know which one's better. Like obviously right now, stat wise, Cooper Kupp's got him in a landslide right now, but I think I'd rather go buy Robert Woods right now than Cooper Kupp.
Well, yeah, you're getting a much better value.
And
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to use Reynolds again too without Cooks playing.
They did with him out this week.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see if the game plan changes. I think that might tell you that Brandon Cooks was in the game plan very heavily this past week, and maybe they wanted to get him right. So he stepped into that role. I'd be curious to see how that goes. I'd love to see them. Robert Woods only had 3 targets last week. That's just too little, and he looked good with it. I'd like to see them go back to featuring him a little bit more. Robert Woods has always done better with Cooper Kupp in the lineup. So I don't
know. I don't know if I want any Rams receivers though with that schedule and that O-line. I'm just not a huge fan. I mean, I loved the Rams, but now I'm like souring a little bit just for this redraft season. I might even consider selling Kupp to get some other receiver like a Mike Evans or something.
I think you're on something there. I think if you're in a push and redraft, selling Cooper Kupp and seeing what you can get is not a bad idea right now.
Yeah.
Like I said,
what about? And I'll pivot this a little bit because I want to talk about the other side there. Are there any Bengals wide receivers that you are interested in buying? Because now we get the Andy Dalton benched on his birthday.
Oh God.
Ryan
Who is Finley going to target? Yeah. I'm starting Finley in a dynasty league where I had Cam and who was it? I had like Taysom Hill, Cam. It was like a terrible no backup situation. Oh, I took Will Grier because I was like, well, if Cam goes down, I'll have Will Grier. It's dynasty. Who cares? And then Kyle Allen showed up. So I'm already starting Finley. Very excited about that. But who he's going to throw to, I have no idea. Auden Tate has looked so good, but I mean,
me and Auden Tate aren't friends anymore. I actually drafted a lot of rookie drafts, thinking I got an absolute steal, and then after last season, I'm not gonna lie, I dropped him in a lot of leagues just to watch my league pick him up.
He was droppable. Watching his catches was like a highlight reel, though. It was amazing. Everything is so ridiculous and hard to catch, and he still gets it. So maybe he'll do well with Finley. I don't know.
Can Tyler Boyd maintain his like wide receiver 2 status?
That I don't know. I don't know if Boyd was a Dalton favorite or a game plan favorite. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing in Cincinnati.
Well, the thing about the offense is quantity hasn't been an issue. Nobody has more completions or attempts than Andy Dalton, and he's not been good with them. But I'm curious if that's going to be the same game plan here with Ryan Finley, and if they're gonna throw the ball a lot, and maybe it's Ryan Finley, maybe it's return of AJ Green that ultimately ends up being good for the other weapons. Because right now it seems like Tyler Boyd is having a tough time, even though he's still getting volume. He's having a tough time producing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I watched a lot of NC State there leading up to Finley being drafted. He did a lot of good things. There's a lot of positives in his game, but there's still a lot of things that I think were going to be negative coming into the NFL for him there. And when you don't have, like Erickson, Auden Tate, Tyler Boyd, that line is not very good either. We talked about the Rams line being bad. The Bengals line is just as bad, and they got some matchups here coming down the stretch that you don't really want to have a bad line for. Like the Ravens are coming up. Their next game is the Ravens. The Raiders, like they're not the greatest front, but everyone looks good against that Bengals line.
Yep.
The Steelers, that TJ Watt guy, he's been okay.
Mm-hmm.
Bud Dupree, they're going to get after him in a division matchup. Are you kidding me? Andy Dalton, Andy Dalton being benched is not Andy Dalton's fault, in my opinion. It comes back to that line. Like you're looking at, he still threw 204 completions on 338 attempts, over 2,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 8 picks. The 8 picks, I'd have to go back and watch the film and see how those 8 picks came, but I'm going to guess a lot of them are probably under pressure, and I'm going to guess probably a couple were deflected at some point off the receiver as well. So I don't think Andy Dalton has been the issue as far as that goes. He's also had an issue holding the ball, and I think those were on some sacks too. Week 1 against the Seahawks, he lost 2 fumbles, and those were on pressure. He was getting blitzed and everything left, right, and center. That game against the Steelers on, I think, was that Monday Night Football or was that Thursday Night Football? Anyway, the rule is it was a primetime game.
Mm-hmm.
You never start Andy Dalton on primetime TV. That's a rule. Everyone knows that one.
Yep.
So you can't even blame
Afternoon Andy.
If you start, if you're relying on Andy Dalton on a primetime game, that's on you.
Exactly.
Can't blame Andy for that one. But yeah, I don't see I think you downgrade just about everyone on that Bengals roster right now.
I agree. I would not be buying Bengals, and I don't think you can really sell them for anything either. So,
the only Bengal you could really possibly sell is probably the Bengals not playing. That's AJ Green, and hope someone will buy him. But I don't think anyone's going to buy these guys. The only good thing about AJ Green is you haven't had a chance to use him this year, so you might as well sell him. You're not going to feel the pinch. Selling Joe Mixon at 25% of his value, you're not going to do that. No, Mixon's a hold. Maybe. I don't know. It's not pretty for him. So, like I said, a lot of the show I want to talk strength of schedule and stuff like that, because I know, Bilal, you do a lot of things there with the Roto Underworld, and you look into those strength of schedules. I know I bounce a lot of things off you in the DMs and stuff, especially when it comes to the strength of schedule, and you've helped me out understand that a little bit as the season's kind of gone on. So I want to make sure we get this all going so we can tell some people, or tell our one viewer here right now who to go.
Our one viewer.
Hi,
Thanks, Mom. Yeah, exactly.
Calvin.
Well, one thing about the Bengals, looking at their strength of schedule, they're not in a lot of shootouts. They have the second easiest defensive strength of schedule. So I don't see a lot of Finley, AJ Green healthy shootouts happening because they're just not going to need it. Low scoring games ahead.
Yeah, I don't see those kind of games. You look back and you're like, you know what? It's going to be garbage time Finley coming up here. You know what I mean?
Yes, that would be nice.
But I just don't maybe he's ready, but I doubt it right now as a rookie coming in middle of the season. Defenses are already prepping for the playoffs. They're all primed up and ready to go. And bringing your rookie quarterback in right now with that team, I don't think that's going to be – maybe it'll work out for him next year, getting these reps in now. But I still think the Bengals will often draft a quarterback anyway in the draft this year.
Yeah, I get why they do it. I mean, they need to make sure that they know what they have in him, I guess, so that they know it's their turn on the clock, either at 1 or 2. Are they taking Tua or are they taking
Chase Young?
My guy, Joe Burrows.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting call come there. I know right now I got Chase Young as my top player coming out of the draft right now. But you can't pass up a franchise-type quarterback here. So,
Hey, can I mention one other name real quick? Miles Sanders. He might be a guy that a lot of people want to buy right now. And I get it. He looked really good. He had some really good highlight plays. And I feel like he's the kind of guy that if his coach ever got mad and decided he was going to give him 27 touches the way they did in Chicago, then he probably could have a pretty good day too. But he did everything that he did this past week was on 6 touches, and he played a season low 17% of the snaps. Ouch. So that's not a formula for getting really excited, and he's going to be really useful for us moving forward. So if they were ever going to decide to use him, great, but they're just not using him enough. And 6 touches is not going to.
Would you buy Jordan Howard knowing that, or do you think it's inevitable? if you knew Howard had like a top 10 running back schedule the rest of the season.
I have a bias against running backs who don't catch the ball.
You're right. Sure.
Yeah, I like for them to be able to do so, but his value might be at a point where I don't think he's going away. And he got, I don't remember his touches this week, but what do you have, 19 carries or something like that this week? So, yeah, I think he's the more valuable of the two options for this year, for sure.
Right. Redraft. I'm trying to stick to redraft, and then we can switch to Dynasty whenever. Yeah.
Yep.
So for me, redraft, I'd be okay. I think this Eagles offense can support both Sanders and Howard equally. Sanders is their best wide receiver they have on that roster. I'm sorry, Alshon Jeffrey, but Nelson Aguilar, you're horrible. Like I said last week, I definitely wouldn't trust him catching a baby out of a burning building, right? That's not
right.
Aguilar's thing. Miles Sanders has, I think, the 8 biggest plays from scrimmage for the Eagles this season. I think he leads the team in catches. I could be wrong on that, but even last week, Jordan Howard had 23 touches in the run game. Plus, I think he had a catch there. But you're looking at I'm looking at his numbers here. He's had 19 catches right now, and he's had games where he's had 73 yards receiving, 86 yards receiving. He's got 274 yards receiving. Miles Sanders does to go with his 300 yards rushing.
Yeah, so that's my kind of guy. Yeah,
you take those numbers. He's got you over 600 yards right now. So that's And I think as the season goes on, they're going to be using Sanders a lot more overall and getting him as many touches as they can, because they've got I kind of like their schedule coming up to close out.
Yeah, he's in my top 10 buys right now, but with the whole season low snaps and stuff, it was kind of scary. So
it's definitely something that's worth monitoring there, like looking back on last week and seeing what those are. But Sanders is a guy who's going to make the most of those touches too.
Wasn't he injured or something? Wasn't he questionable mid-game? Maybe that had something to do with it. I'll have to look back. I didn't watch that game.
Shoulder injury, but I think the X-rays cleared him of any structural damage there. But they were.
Yeah, I just don't know when it happened. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that could explain it.
Yeah, if it was during the game, that's why he didn't play as much. And if it wasn't during the game, then we have more to, discover later.
In kind of similar vein, Devin Singletary was kind of similar this week as well. Although he played more snaps than Frank Gore, but everything that he did, and it was good, but everything that he did was on 7 touches. So these running backs that are not getting this kind of volume, I mean, both those guys are getting less volume than Darrell Henderson. And if Darrell Henderson's getting that volume and it continues to go that way, I'd rather have him.
Right. I chase volume. Yeah, agreed. Volume over efficiency is one of the hardest things. So,
and normally I would agree. I'm going to disagree with when it comes to Sanders, because that big play potential is always there. We've seen it week after week. He always makes that one big play. Now I'm also 9 times out of 10, I like my consistency. I usually rely on consistency, but I'm seeing Sanders consistently perform week in and week out, despite those low numbers in the game, in touches and snaps. So, yeah, I'm a big believer in Sanders. He's someone I'm definitely buying. Of course, I'm buying or selling depending on the price, regardless. If I can get Sanders cheap enough, I'm going to buy him. If I can sell him for enough, I'll sell him. But I'm looking at these numbers. I think he was he was a top 10 running back last week, despite those numbers too. So, and if you're in a league that includes return yardage, you get a nice a caveat there with him in his return game. So
I felt bad for everyone that's not in one when Sanders ran it back. It was amazing. 0 points. Good job, Sanders.
Yeah, so he's definitely, like I said, that's a guy for me that's a buying. I have him. I'll buy him over Henderson. I'll buy him over Singletary right now. I do believe the Bills go back to Frank Gore and run him ragged there, because it's Frank Gore, and you can't kill Frank Gore. And
you can't.
You cannot.
He'll still be playing football long after Singletary retires. So
Yeah.
And he's only like 100 yards away from passing Barry Sanders, is it? I think for fourth all-time, third all-time. I can't remember, but it's insane.
Yeah, I read the same thing. I don't remember who it was, though.
I'm just going to take a look here. And he's got a pretty good – yeah, he's got the Redskins this week.
There you go.
Redskins, Browns, Dolphins, Broncos. It's a pretty good schedule to get you to the playoffs.
Yeah, it must taper off. Yeah.
Yeah, because then it goes Cowboys, Ravens, Steelers, Patriots, Jets. So,
yeah.
But we'll see. Like when you get into those games and you're looking at these teams, Broncos, the Cowboys now with Michael Bennett are going to have a good pass rush. So that could be more of a Singletary type game where you're trying to limit the pressure coming off that rush. Or you may go with the old consistent Frank Gore because there's not a blitz he hasn't seen. So
I've seen it.
Yeah. So when you get into those tight crunch games for the Bills, and I expect them to be a wild card team, you may rely more on Frank Gore, the veteran, over a Devin Singletary, a young rookie, when the games really start to matter here down the stretch, especially that rematch in Week 16 against the Patriots.
Yeah.
And we all know what Frank Gore did to the Patriots in Week 4, don't we? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He had 100 and some yards, didn't he?
He destroyed the Patriots.
Yeah. I honestly don't remember. That's good to know, though.
Well, we could talk about this all week because I had him as a start, despite everyone else. He had 17 carries for 109 yards against the Patriots.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think in the 3 games before that, they had given up like 100 yards total or something like that on the ground to all running backs.
But it's Frank Gore. Yeah.
And then Frank Gore, yeah.
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 Frank Goat.
Frank Goat.
What else do you got there for the box score?
Well, I'll just point out a couple of guys that jumped out to me, and I'm excited about. Deontay Johnson in Pittsburgh, I thought looked really good. He continues to be a favorite of Mason Rudolph. He's not getting superstar level work, but I think he's the kind of guy that can develop into a pretty good flex. I'm excited about the return of Patrick Mahomes for Mecole Hardman. He only got a couple of targets this week, but I see this guy on the screen. I think he jumps off. He's clearly the second best wide receiver on that team, thanks to your boy Sammy Watkins, who just can't get out of his own way. But I really like what he's doing. He looks explosive. He scored in the last couple of weeks. Matt Moore didn't target him as much, but I think Patrick Mahomes will and can. LaShawn McCoy, things started looking really good for him, and it looked like he was distancing himself from everyone in that backfield, and then things got a little muddier this week. And I don't remember where I heard it. Maybe I might have saw it on Twitter or something like that, but I was confused by what I was seeing in the numbers, but he fumbled in a pretty big part of the game. And Damian Williams basically took over for him after that. And Damian Williams ended up getting the touchdown. Damian Williams' usage had gone to almost nothing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it spiked back up. And the fumble, I'm not confirming that it was a fumble or that he was benched or anything like that, but I think whereas Damian Williams might have been droppable to me before this game, it might be worth hanging on just to see if he can reemerge there. We know that as it gets colder, I mean, he did it last year. Last year he came on and he was a really good running back for us. So in that system, if he's going to get the touches, it's certainly worth looking at. Y'all want to comment on any of those, or do you want me to keep going?
I did comment for everyone to see there on their screen.
Wow. Yeah, I was looking in the wrong spot, and it's right in front of me.
Man, I love StreamYard and the things I can do on here on the free plan.
Yeah. That is pretty cool.
I like Curtis Samuel. I like what he did. He got a lot of volume this week against San Francisco, and actually performed pretty well. Kyle Allen did not look good. But if Cam Newton comes back, Cam Newton definitely likes Curtis Samuel a lot. I think those two guys together, Curtis Samuel's value seems to be very low right now. And
yeah, I would buy him either now or right after the Tennessee game.
Yeah,
because I think that's when he'll start to, come back strong with Cam back and a better schedule from that point on.
Well, let's talk about that for a second here. Who is the wide receiver one in Carolina? Is it DJ Moore or is it Curtis Samuel, you think, with Cam Newton coming back?
Everyone always has to ask this question, and it's Greg Olsen.
Well, actually, we're all incorrect, and it's Christian McCaffrey.
It's Christian McCaffrey. Yep.
So
I was on a Panthers episode of a podcast, and we were talking about it before the season, and it was a big back and forth. And I'm like, look, man, they're both startable. Get whoever's cheaper. I'm not going to say either one is bad. I like both. They're different types of receivers. They're both versatile. Like I like both. But McCaffrey's going to absorb so much, and then Olsen won't die, so Ian Thomas is irrelevant, and Olsen's going to take from those receiving targets too. So it's just muddy.
So your Panthers completely let me down this week. I actually had them beating the 49ers.
No way. No.
My thought is, and first off, this is how much I believe in Christian McCaffrey. I'm glad he still had a good game.
He did.
But you've got that kind of a pass rush. Let's not take anything away from the 49ers. That front four is as good as any we've seen this year. The best way, and I'll say this 100 times because with IDP and stuff, the best way to limit that pass rush is a Christian McCaffrey. Getting him in the flats, bubble screens, etc. So I thought they could limit that pressure that was coming in there, even though their line's not the greatest. I thought quick little hitters out to McCaffrey, get him into space, dump it, so the line wasn't coming after the quarterback. And then once the pressure starts to sit back because it's going out to McCaffrey, I really thought Samuels and DJ Moore really stressed that secondary of the 49ers, and we didn't see that at all.
Nope.
I don't know if that's because the 49ers are that good or what it is, but kudos to the 49ers because they keep proving me wrong week in and week out. So
yeah, there were a few that were betting on the Panthers, and I said, no way. No way. I couldn't see it happening. Not this week. Maybe if no. I don't even think Cam could have helped. That was even a fully healthy Cam.
Well, and my thing is, okay, you got Luke there hanging out on Kittle. I thought that was pretty much a wash. I thought Shaq Thompson was fantastic this season. I did not expect Telvin Coleman to go off the way he did. I don't think anyone expected that.
Nope. I did not. Nope.
And I wasn't worried about the secondary of the Panthers because that 49ers wide receiver group isn't as strong as anything, right? Emanuel Sanders came in on 3 days practice and automatically assumed the wide receiver one spot in San Fran. So I really thought this was a matchup that the Panthers could have exploited based on personnel. And
I
guess Nick Bosa there just said, you know what, I see your personnel. I'm just going to go chase whoever has the ball, and I'm going to knock the crap out of him.
Yeah. Yep.
And if he's not your defensive rookie of the year right now, you're doing this all wrong. I think at the beginning of the season, a lot of us had Devin Bush there at defensive rookie of the year. Nick Bosa has definitely put himself in the defensive rookie of the year lead spot and probably even getting some serious votes on defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Could.
But yeah, Panthers let me down. I really believed in the personnel matchups they had there. I thought they could have won that game or at least made it a lot more closer. And I don't know if Cam would have made a difference in that game or not, but
it's just the way the Panthers are. Had they lost every game leading up to that, they would have won. So just how it goes. It was going to flip either way.
So they'll probably beat the Titans here like 50.
Yeah, I could see them beating the Titans. Tannehill does not know what he's getting into right now. So I could see the defense taking a step forward, the offense don't the Titans, you can run on the Titans all day. So McCaffrey's going to have a good game, and the defense should have a good game, and Kyle Allen will have a conservative game is what I'm assuming. So,
and as long as Brian Burns changes his face mask, he should be able to see.
Brian Burns actually said he was upset with the amount of snaps he played too after the game. So there was some fishy stuff going on, that we don't know about. They didn't let Brian Burns in until the fourth quarter when the game was over. And
he still didn't do nothing.
He didn't do nothing, but I think he was pissed. I think he just didn't want to do anything, but they have a good O-line. So just held him back. He didn't get into any rhythm. He was semi-injured, but he said he was healthy enough to play, and they wouldn't let him back in. So
let's dive into some of these strength of schedules there, Hillel. And
what
do you see going forward? Who are some of your guys you want to see trading for right now? Maybe some guys you can buy low and have them pay off for you.
My top, so I'll go by position. My top buy low, because he's very low, is probably Jameis Winston, because he has a very favorable schedule from here on out. Tennessee was like his last bad game, I believe. I'll have to look back and see if he has one more dud ahead. I think maybe one more, but you can start him the rest of the season. And PFF just graded the Bucs O-line as top 8, which was shocking. I didn't realize they had such a good offensive line.
So, Mom, if you're watching, that schedule is the Seahawks, the Cardinals, the Saints, the Falcons, the Jags, the Colts, and then we hit. This is where you really want to emphasize this point. Week 15, 16, 17 at the Lions. So they're going up to Detroit, and it's going to be indoors, so it's not the cold weather.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're back at home for the Texans and the Falcons to close off the season.
Yep.
So that's a nice playoff schedule down the stretch.
And then not as good of a schedule, but Garoppolo hasn't been performing yet, but I think he's going to take a step forward. But he's still got a decent schedule.
I
really like what he was able to do with Emanuel Sanders as well. I mean, it was only 5 targets. I'm certainly hoping that goes up, but I think Sanders might be the best wide receiver he's played with. So I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, to come there.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, in the history
of Jimmy Garoppolo's career, I'm trying to think who he was throwing to.
So it's like Marquise Goodwin.
Yeah.
Did he have Crabtree last year? No. Who did he have?
That's what I was trying to remember. Did he have Crabtree? Like, who did he throw to? Yeah.
Crabtree,
because he missed a whole season too. So yeah. I would say it's possible Emanuel Sanders is the best receiver he's ever thrown to. I mean. So
he's going to be able to throw to him against the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals again.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Packers and Ravens, who the Ravens secondary has been giving up points. Then the Saints, the Falcons, the Rams, who've traded their whole secondary away here recently. That's Marcus Peters, Talib are both gone, and they replaced with just Jalen Ramsey, and I think Ty Hill's the other guy now. And then the Seahawks to close off the season. So not a bad schedule down the stretch.
Yep. Yeah, like technically Winston has a better schedule, but Garoppolo is a Kyle Shanahan. And the volume with Winston should be there more. And then you've got Breeze, which is, I don't know if you can actually buy low on him because he just had a good game. I was kind of hoping he would sit through the bye and then you could buy low on him, but now it's too late. And then you could look at Mason Rudolph. You could. I know he didn't look that good, but it's possible that he's just getting getting comfortable. He doesn't have that bad of a schedule. Still top 10. And a top 10 offensive line helps.
Gosh, he looks so bad. But
Yes. I mean, I'm not comfortable even saying that. You could just keep an eye on him. We'll put it that way. I wouldn't be picking him up.
I think I seen one of my favorite memes during Monday Night Football. It was like Sam Darnold, I see ghosts. And then it was like Rudolph, I see ghosts. And then Sam Darnold, you're playing the Dolphins.
Yeah, like at least Darnold picked the Patriots to do that against. Like, oh, God. All right, so that's it for QBs. Running backs, it is just interesting. You can't buy low on him. Saquon Barkley happens to have the number one best running back schedule available of any running back of any team. So it's just interesting to know, like if you're sitting on a deal where you have, Zeke and Barkley up for trade in some fashion, you could end up with Barkley and have just the better schedule. And Le'Veon Bell is right behind Saquon. So this is more like you could probably trade for Le'Veon right now. But a lot of Le'Veon owners are salty and gripping him and not letting him go. Like the Le'Veon guy I talked to earlier is like still in love with him and thinks he's going to have a great season starting now. So
yeah.
Josh Jacobs is next. So it's just good to know. Really good schedule. Dalvin Cook is interesting mostly because of Madison. So if you can have Madison before they, what did you call it? Ease the throttle, or what did you say on Cook or something? And then Sony Michel is right after that. So Sony Michel, you brought up earlier, and he's top 5. So his schedule is favorable the rest of the season, so much so that he made it in the top 5. And then you just have Montgomery, Connor with Jalen Samuels attached, Peterson with Gase attached, and Miles Sanders.
Or Jordan Howard.
Or Jordan Howard. I wasn't going to go down the whole list, but it's just fun facts. Like if you own one of those guys, better days ahead. Mm-hmm. If you don't own them, you might be able to trade someone that's perceived as equal value. And then Michael Thomas should keep doing his crazy stuff. There's not really any buy lows except for Emanuel Sanders and maybe T.Y. Hilton on the wide receiver list. Everyone else is, you could buy low on Corey Davis or A.J. Brown, but I just don't feel comfortable doing that. Mm-hmm. If you can pick up A.J. Brown, that'd be nice, but he's owned in most leagues now, I'd imagine. And Ted Ginn, if Breeze is healthy, should be just fine, but I don't know what Breeze has going on. Apparently he's not 100% himself. And then tight end is just such a wash. The best schedule it's just not relevant. Like you could, George Kittle has the best schedule for tight ends, but it doesn't mean you can buy him. Like you could try, like if you had Kelsey and wanted to go crazy and believe in strength of schedule and trade him for Kittle, you could. But Gerald Everett is number 2. But I try to lower the rankings of anyone with the bad offensive line, but Everett's been doing this with the bad offensive line, and his schedule only gets better. So if they keep featuring Everett, he's going to be the easiest guy for Goff to throw to, according to the teams they're playing. And after that,
is kind of interesting.
What's up?
Well, it's kind of interesting about Kittle. I wonder, could you get Kittle for Austin Hooper right now?
Yeah, that's something I would definitely do. I mean, like I would be into that. That's about it though for those guys. The last thing I like to point out is the Steelers defense has the number 1 defensive strength of schedule. So they could finish out the next, 8 weeks? What week are we in now? As the number 1 scoring defense, and it wouldn't be a surprise, and everyone would just say, oh, it's because they had an easy schedule, what it's actually because, they had an easy schedule. But everyone's saying to sell the Patriots defense, and they are still number 7. After all that talk, yeah, they're 7 down. So they still have a top 7 potential if they were just like every other defense playing every other offense. And they happen to already be a good defense playing against top 7 schedule compared to the other defenses. So,
So I just had this trade come through from Wilcox Fish. He traded away Travis Kelce and James White. He's also got Darren Waller as his other tight end. So let's not worry about the tight end position here so much. So Kelce and James White, and he got Marlon Mack and Marvin Jones in return.
I mean, I wouldn't do that, but yeah. It's pretty even, but I would pick the Kelce side with White. I like White and I like Kelce better than both of them.
And we talked about Michelle having that top 5 schedule down the stretch. Well, James White has that same top 5 schedule.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you could start both. So
it was Mack and who's the other guy? Marvin
Jones.
Marvin Jones. I mean, they're not bad. Like I mean, it's more like I would need one more thing in there. It's not even for me. But
they swapped kickers, if that means anything to you.
Oh, okay. Well, now it all makes sense. All right, yeah, I'm good as long as we swapped kickers.
I didn't think that was worth bringing up, but yeah. Yeah,
it could be what would swing me if I cared enough. But yeah, it's.
If
I was pretty high on.
If there's some reason he can't get Darren Waller into his lineup right now, and clearing Kelce out would help him get Waller in, and now he's able to go from James White to Mack and then add in a Marvin Jones, then maybe there's some extra credit there. But I'm with you guys. I think receiver like Marvin Jones is so replaceable. He's already proven that he's just as boom or bust as anyone else you can pick up. Like you can pick up Amendola right now in most leagues. Like just go for that if you want some Detroit passing game. Yeah.
Amendola, I had to start him last week and he kind of bailed me out in a big way.
He's startable this week. I mean, like it looks good. Like I'd start him.
Yeah. I said at the beginning of the year, I said he could be filling that Golden Tate role, and it's been up and down for a lot of the season. But that was I'm kicking myself because when Kerryon Johnson got hurt, that was the obvious winner was Danny Amendola.
Yep.
And I
was waiting just to say that. Like, yep. I didn't think about it, and now I'm like behind thinking about it. Like, well, duh, like I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
We were so busy on Ty Johnson that we were not seeing. Yeah. We just didn't see Amendola. We had him friend zoned.
Yeah.
Amendola's given us 2 big weeks so far this season too.
Yeah. And he should be good for another one, but he's always been made of glass. So I'm a little worried. Like we got his 2 good weeks. I don't know if he's got a third in him, but I really want to start him. I really do.
I was on rated. I don't want to. I'm not going to do this anymore because I was on rated IDP on Friday night, right? IDP live, and we had Jason Waltner come on, and we were talking, and JJ Watt came up, and I'm like, you know what? It's just a matter of time until the other wheel falls off on JJ Watt.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Yeah.
I can't believe you said that. Oh my god!
So yesterday on Twitter, we're going back and forth, and we're talking JJ Watt. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll take the L on this one. It's all on me on this one.
I hate saying it, but so I'm in a family league where I'm playing against my sister-in-law, and so I always spend too much time because this is family. It's more important to win against them.
Uh-huh.
And so she has Stafford, and I know she has to pick up Amendola, but I have a higher waiver claim than her in this league. And I almost want to let her take Amendola knowing he's not going to play the whole game. I have that. That's the feeling I have right now. It's like, I know she needs him, but I want to pick him up and start him against her, as like a troll move. But then I'm going to be the one punished for doing that because he's not going to play the whole game. That's how I feel. And that's what I have to go to bed tonight thinking about is delete that waiver claim or leave it. I don't know.
That's a rock and a hard place.
Mm-hmm. You know what?
She could beat me with him too. Yeah.
Family league. I say you pick him up. It's the only right thing to do. I watched one of my leagues. We had two sets of brothers, and the one guy. So you have to start a tight end, or your lineup is null and void. And
Oh wow.
yeah. So he was going on. His brother was looking at it. He had a tight end who got injured, and his other tight end was on bye. And everyone's got it's like a premium league, right? So he went out and used his waiver claim and picked up 3 tight ends. The top 3 tight ends on the list, and he started 2 of the 3 or so. It was ridiculous. He started 3 tight ends against him and beat him because the guy didn't have anything left. So
I did that last week. I played against the Lamar Jackson owner in this same league, and his backup QB, which I have no idea why he was rostered, was Joe Flacco. So I went on waivers and picked up 3 QBs where I had my QB set, but I picked up all the shootout QBs and then dropped them all Saturday night, for my real pickups for Sunday.
So
he ended up starting Flacco against me because it was Flacco or Fitzpatrick, which, no one was high on him against the Steelers. He had all bad matchups to choose from, and then I put all the good matchups back, which is why Carr is available now, and I have to pick him up again. So,
and of course, You're probably one of those leagues. As soon as you drop a guy, they get locked until the next waiver.
They lock until the next waiver. Yeah. Well, it locks for 24 hours, or if the game is going to start, it locks for the Wednesday. So I waited till it locked to Wednesday and then dropped them. And I got to play against Joe Flacco, and I won. So it worked out.
So not only are you the master of the hot takes, but you're also the king of the trolls too in the family league.
The family league is we troll each other. I lost a championship when I started my Tony Romo against his Cole Beasley in 2014 or something. And it was every touchdown went to him that week. It was just bad.
So I
we troll each other. Yeah.
Well, those are the best ones. I got I got a bunch of leagues I'm on with a bunch of buddies and stuff that I don't really know. They're kind of my Twitter friends, and the leagues you get kind of sucked into because this person's in it, so they get you in it, so you join it. Mm-hmm. I don't really pay much attention to the lineup. I'll set my lineup on Monday and hope for the best. After Monday Night Football, I'll go and I'll set my lineup for the week, and kind of that sleeper bot league that we're in, I'll set my lineup and I'll kind of leave it. But I'll tell you what, when it comes to my home leagues back here in my hometown, these are the ones I put all my – now, mind you, they're all big ticket type payouts and stuff too. But it's these are the ones you don't want to mess up. These are the ones that you're going to have to do something stupid if you get last place in the league overall.
Yeah. That's what makes fantasy fun is that interaction, even the trash talk, whatever meme they put with you, all that kind of stuff. So,
yep.
Yeah, these are the ones I prey on the weak ones, right? I watch a guy roster Tyreek Hill there for 6 weeks, and then he went down. He had about 4 of his receivers went down with injury. He still had Hill. I'm I'll tell you what, man, I'll help you out here. I will give you Will Fuller, who just scored 40 points. I'm telling you, Will Fuller, he's about to break out, man. He's gonna, and I'll even throw in LaShawn McCoy for Tyreek Hill.
Oh,
okay. I'm yes.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, guys. Now get healthy. Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Terrell Williams, Tyreek Hill. I think I got someone else in there that's a top receiver, Todd Gurley and Miles Sanders. But that's not. I should focus. This is also me here, where I usually load up on running backs. I went the opposite approach and loaded up on wide receivers this year. So I felt good doing it. But
I got punished in my only 0 running back league with OBJ and Adams. So it's the whole season is just a headache now.
You sit back and wait for the season to end.
Yep. I'm all right, not doing that again. And then I do it again. But yeah.
Yeah. So I see we're closing in here on the 2-hour mark. I'll give you the floor here, Hillel. Just kind of promote some of your stuff, talk about some things you got going on here. Your work with Roto Underworld.
The most prominent thing I've got right now is with Patrick Murphy. You may have heard about it on Roto Underworld's podcasts. Shook the camera there. fantasyfootballking.com. Basically, you can get a free 10-minute consultation followed by different options where we help you run your team better than I run my own teams. So I like to treat my teams like a playground and give a lot more structured, consultations that have, all the data that backs it up. And like I said, it always sort of pairs up with what you'd hear on the show anyway, because we have similar process and use similar things. And playerprofiler.com is always the easiest place to go. There's always articles coming out there, and running my Twitter account as well as the Fantasy King Twitter. So check that out at HJChami, CHAMI anytime. And at FF the King is another one too. So
I'm going to get on that. I don't think I'm following the FF King one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think
I've retweeted it a few times, but I don't know if you have me muted yet. So,
No, I would never mute you.
I know, I'm messing.
At FF King?
At FF the King, THE. The King. Should say Fantasy Football King.
Yeah, I found it.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Got a white logo.
Yep.
So so Patrick Murphy is the owner of the Fantasy Football King, and then I do some of the tweets and he does some of them. So I always have a really hard time making sure we're kind of on the same page, so I'm not tweeting something that's the exact opposite of something he just tweeted. But you'll see some of the bylaws we talked about on this. I had already tweeted from that account before this show started. So a couple of the names there, and those are strength of schedule names. So like Corey Davis and AJ Brown, I didn't really bring up here because we had kind of already talked, but it's the same stuff, similar stuff. So,
All right. So I got that Twitter handle sitting there for everyone to kind of catch. Pretty sure I typed that in right. So
I'm glad I got it right. I always do it wrong and then remember, it's the King. It's FF the King. So
I'm not gonna lie, FF King kind of looked kind of weird, to be honest.
There's some weird stuff coming up.
And on that note, this is episode 10 of the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast. Special thanks for Hillel dropping in here and talking a little football, giving us a little strength of schedule knowledge, and talk about trolling his family league. As always, Calvin and Hobby sitting in the top right corner there, and I'm Dingus4, and this, like I said, is episode 10. We've made 10 episodes already. Can you believe that? 10 episodes.
Oh, idiots.
Top 10.
And yeah, this is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, and we gone.